Hey everybody, before we jump into the next session, we wanted to bring you a little bonus module. So in the next 10 minutes or so before the next session starts, I want to share with you 6 simple ways that you can use technology to improve your productivity. As an example of the power of these tips, St. Luke's was able to process 20% more trays using the same amount of staff after implementing the Census platform, as well as implementing tips like these, and I very much believe that these tips can help you do the same. As a quick introduction, my name is Brendan Dell, and I'm an evangelist for Census, and we're the only AI-driven surgical instrument tracking solution available in the market today. With that, let's get right into these 6 tips. All right, so diving right in, the first way to improve productivity using AI technology is to create a single source of truth. In an environment where things move as quickly and have as much complexity as they do in sterile processing, the first tip to implementing efficiencies is to get a holistic view of all your critical data points. And this is how we've assembled this. We're showing the dashboard here from Census AI Squared, our productivity module. This overview is designed to show you everything that takes place inside your SPD across all your facilities, providing a single pane of glass that you need to cut through complexity and get to confidence and certainty in decision making. So whether you use Census or you create something similar using a different process, what you want to do is ensure that your overview, however you create it, allows you full visibility into all the variables that you're going to need to make effective decisions. Things like productivity by tech, productivity by facility, and you want to be able to quickly slice and dice data to get the views you want. For instance, in our platform, you can see along the left, you can sort this data in a variety of ways. So we all know that decisions are only as good as the information informing them, and without the right information, you're forced to make choices blind. Which brings us to the second way to improve productivity using AI technology, which is to enable real-time status and tracking of instruments, loaners, and scopes. Everyone here is familiar with the following kinds of scenarios. Things like conflict with departments over missing or delayed equipment, uncertainty about inventory levels, uncertainty around the compliance and status of complex equipment like scopes. Technology solved all these problems, and we see it as an imperative that facilities use technology to get real-time insight into the status of their equipment. What you're seeing here is Census's case status view that uses color coding to show you what's on track, what has a stat need around it, what's not available, as well as a variety of other critical pieces of information that you need. There's a huge opportunity to reduce conflict, increase efficiency, improve patient safety, and reduce compliance worries using modern technology. And if you're among the few remaining facilities who are still using paper-based processes to track your instruments and equipment, we know that things like increased regulatory scrutiny and cleaning complexity make doing something to modernize this an imperative if you want to increase your efficiency and your productivity. Which brings us to number 3. The third way to improve productivity using AI technology is to use throughput data to optimize your productivity, and I'll show you what I mean. So there's a very well-known quote from leadership expert Peter Drucker that says, "What gets measured gets managed." As an SPD leader, it's almost impossible to make substantive improvements to your productivity, especially when managing multiple facilities, without getting a clear view of what's going on so that you can analyze and make recommendations. Technology can be a vehicle to automatically collect all the data that you need so that you can focus on making really sound decisions. I'll show you an example of this in action using Census. So here what we've done is tab over to the Facilities tab within Census AI Squared. And let's take a look at this data and figure out how we might identify some low-hanging fruit to increase our throughput. So when we clicked through to our facility comparison, you can see along the left here that our facilities are ranked on the throughput from those facilities. I had number of items per day that are processed, okay? And we can then identify here that Midtown is underperforming versus other facilities. But then our question becomes, why, and what do we do about it? When we tab through to this view, we're seeing 3 variables very quickly at a glance. The first is how much time is spent processing equipment for procedures. The second shows us what's not being spent processing for procedures. And then the third is all the other stuff that's not currently tracked. Without getting into all of the weeds here, what we did was implement a program here to track and see what is all this other stuff. And one of the ways that we did this was by putting a barcode next to the phone at this facility to figure out how much time are people spending on the phone. What we figured out was a full 20% of the SPD's time was spent just fielding calls. And we were able to then put a business case in place for a liaison to help them streamline that process as well as collaborate with the OR in this scenario. And we were able to get them that 20% back which brought more processing time to their workflows. And this is just something we could have never done without that data. This brings us to number 4. The fourth way to improve productivity using AI technology is to identify high-value trays for optimization. To kick this off, an insight. When technicians are assembling a tray and they're following an SOP, it should take them about 12.5 seconds to process a given instrument into a tray. And another insight emerges when we understand that very, very complex trays take a disproportionate amount of time to process and break down. So efficiency breaks down with complexity, and it's not a linear increase in time, it's an exponential increase. And as SPD leaders, we want to understand how to mitigate this increase, right? By identifying what trays can we optimize. But we also know that optimizing trays is a high-calorie activity. You need to collaborate with a variety of stakeholders, right? You might need to talk to surgeons, you might need to talk with techs and so forth. But we know that it's very, very important, right, to do as much as we can to increase productivity here. So let's take a look at an example of how we might do this. So you can see on this dashboard, we have a variety of information available to us, but where we'll focus right now is in this container detail at the bottom. So if we tab through here, what we'll see is a list, okay, of all of our different trays that we're currently processing through SPD. What we'll do once we double click in is quickly see a few trays that account for the majority of the assembly. Now, when we go to have optimization discussions, we're not just coming from a place of assumption, we're coming from a place of clarity and understanding. We have the insights to share with stakeholders to say, this is why we need to have a discussion. Optimizing these trays will help us reduce costs and serve you better. Which brings us to then the fifth way to improve productivity using AI technology, which is to enable data-driven coaching. Technicians are the lifeblood of all of our departments, right? And we need to invest in their success. We want to keep these folks around. We want to keep them operating at a high level so that we can serve our hospital and our patients, and so that we can, maintain our staffing and not incur all the costs of turnover. And technology provides us new ways to do this. So let's move from our overview here, which provides us some information about all of what our techs are doing, and double click into our text menu along the top there. And we're now looking at a series of trends that we can further double click into and work to understand how our volumes are changing, who's performing well, and not only provide coaching, but also to provide kudos. Okay, when we go in here, for example, we want to be able to share call outs, right? Who is performing well, where are there opportunities for improvement, and so on. And this assembly view gives us important data points to make substantive quantitative suggestions and recognitions. And again, this is only possible with technology. This data would be nearly impossible to collect on your own and would be far too resource intensive, which brings us to number 6, which is increase our speed to insight. Technology should empower faster decision making, right? But all too often what we see is that technology creates new complexity, which must be then managed. But with Census, we've worked really hard to empower this by using AI to allow you to ask questions and get insights directly back. You don't have the luxury of spending hours in Excel or in complex systems to get the answers you need out of all this data you now have access to. So technology makes this simple. All you do using a tool like Census is you would type a question and it would synthesize the data for you. So things like show me load count by machine name is a matrix, right? Here's some prompts right here. Show me peel pack activity, total time, items processed by product time, and so forth. So rather than having to figure out or distill, work through all of this data, it's delivered directly to you in a way that helps you make decisions. So next step, before we jump into the next session, if you'd like a personalized walkthrough of all this, feel free to contact us, census.com/contact us. And with that, let's get right back to our presentation.